fate makers, bunker masters, and fans of mushroom booty all around the globe, this is the Wondercast.
Hello, everyone. On today's show, we're excited to bring you an exciting new addition to the series, The Chaos Chamber. And who better to do so than longtime friend of the series, Greg Miller of Kinda Funny Games.
And that isn't all. Matt Cox, creative director of Wonderlands, and Ken Rochefort, lead game designer, are both here, and you best believe we have some questions for them.
Don't forget, we also have a season pass trailer to show. Fortnite is apparently having a Butt Stallion glider added to their game. Corsair is throwing a Tiny Tina sweepstakes, and we have some really cool images of a treasure trove for you guys. We have so many things to show you. It's going to be a huge show today.
It most certainly is. But as first, we wanted to take a minute to thank all of our new listeners, which I guess technically would be all of you, more or less, on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and those watching live right now on Twitch, YouTube, or later on the VOD on YouTube. If you are enjoying the program, we would love for you to give us a big ol' like, follow, or favorite. If not for us, then maybe for an Ask a Gremlin segment to appear on the channel one day. I'm sure gremlins are a fine substitute for other things that you might want to ask in the series, right? Right?
Definitely.
That's like a thing? Yeah.
The folks from Kinda Funny were kind enough to take a good old-fashioned sample of the upcoming brand new game mode known as Chaos Chamber. What is it? Greg Miller's here with us to discuss it and showcase some footage. So without further ado, would you guys want to see some Chaos Chamber? I think so.
I certainly hope so.
All your shroomers doing a dance.
That's really good.
So, oh my god. Crap, alright? Well, stay back and let me do my damage here, alright? I'm the melee guy. I go foul. That sounds awesome.
Nice.
Greg, welcome back to the show. I guess you could say this is our first time having you live on our series of grassroots programming. It's really, really, really great to talk with you live, and especially about Wonderlands. We're so excited for you to be here.
I'm so excited to be here. I was telling you before we went live testing, it was even before Mitsu got here. Like before this whole global pandemic hit, the final thing we ever did in the Kinda Funny office was the Borderlands show. So Mitsu has a special place in my heart. I remember I see him put up his food photos from all over the world now, and I think about the chicken sandwich he put up from down the block from Kinda Funny every time. How you doing, Mitsu?
Now I'm sad, happy and sad, happy that we actually had that opportunity to connect over those shows, but unfortunately sad because, man, that you were not kidding. That buffalo chicken sandwich was out of this world.
A man after my own heart.
Dude, it's we need to go back someday. That's all I'm going to say for now.
100%.
We do. But enough about buffalo chicken sandwiches for the moment. Let's get right into it. What can you give us like a high level explanation just of what Chaos Chamber is real quick,
Sure.
and your base experiences with it so far?
So high level, this is the end game content I think so many Borderlands fans have been looking for and probably want from something like Wonderlands, where it is this idea that you drop in with your friends, you go through and you grind out this thing that can take, they say between 20 and 30 minutes, but this choose your own adventure in an adventure game, right? As you play through, as you finish off rooms, you pick which portal you want to go to. If you'll get a boss, if you know there'll be a chest at the other side of this, you make that choice, you go into the next room, you kill everything there, you go to the next one, you do it again, and then you get out and you get your rewards. It's an idea that I think speaks to, and Mitsu, you know it so well from doing the Borderlands show with me, right? That when it was me and this other guy, Fran Mirabella, no one ever heard from him again after the Borderlands show, just disappeared into the ether.
Completely gone.
I was always the story guy for Borderlands. I was the one who played the DLCs and connected with the characters and loved that. Fran was always end game. I'm going to get the best build. I'm going to go through and grind for that. I feel like Chaos Chamber is such a beautiful union between the two, where to get to the end there and go through this thing, and of course get the rewards you're getting as you play the game, but as you play, get crystals that then at the end of the adventure, at the end of the chamber, you can walk up to, invest into very specific rabbits that then barf out whatever weapon you want. So if you want assault rifles like I did, you go to the assault rifle rabbit, you put in the crystals, they barf out all these assault rifles that could be good, could be bad, whatever, but they're there. And then of course, as you're also playing it, you're also getting the currency to go through and, reroll enchantments as soon as you're out of it as well. So it is this idea that, hey, I jump back in for the story, I want better gear. Why don't I run a chaos chamber? Or like so many of the audience members, I want to have the best build. I want to melt bosses in 3 seconds. I'm looking for this roll on this gun. Go in and play that way.
So cool.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. It looked really, really, really fun from the video we got to see. So can you tell us a little bit about how you think Chaos Chamber enhances endgame replayability?
I mean, sure, right? I think it gives you an avenue to get what you want. I think that was, from doing the Borderlands show and really connecting with the community through that in a way that I hadn't. Obviously, I was a fan of Borderlands before, but I had never been the end game guy. So to go through and hear concerns and see the, month after month, the questions folks had for Gearbox, it was always about trying to get the loot you wanted. And I think this gives you such a easy point A to point B path to get the loot you want, to go in there and say, I want this gun. Or, if you're like me, look for a specific thing. I want an assault rifle that's better than before. Great. But I think more importantly, when you see, as you guys will on this show, on the chats, in the Border Cast, on streams, when you see a gun somebody else is using, be like, oh man, that's awesome. And they have such a great perk on that. So then rerun this over and over for, however long you need to get what you want and try to find that. I think that's the enhancement. It's the idea that it doesn't have to be grinding the same boss. It doesn't have to be running your head into the wall against this thing you're already sick of. It's instead going into Chaos Chamber that's constantly changing, right? This is the thing I mentioned. You're going through these stitched together parts of this, chamber, but every time those change, and you can pick different paths and have different experiences and, have a different challenge, let alone a different reward.
And that's what I was going to ask about. You made a comment that you are more the story guy, right? And you approach this as a choose your own adventure of sorts, which fits so well in the D&D theme.
For sure.
That fantasy aspect that they're really going for, right?
Yeah.
And and so as somebody who kind of wanted to choose their own adventure a little bit more than I think somebody who's taking it more from a hardcore element, what kind of reaction did you have seeing all these new environments that I guess the portals take you to? Like how did you choose your adventure, I guess we should say?
Well, I mean, it was by committee, right? We were lucky enough that this is the first in-person event I've done in forever. So it was me, Blessing from Kind of Funny, Janet, and Andrea. And Janet and Andrea came up from LA. And it's the first time I'd ever worked with Janet in person, even though I've worked with her for years now on Kind of Funny programming. And then just a pleasure to see Andrea again. And so we were, of course, tossed into the very deep end, right? Where it was, all right, cool. Here's end game content. Here's maxed out characters. Here's all the different classes. Go ahead and try to figure it out. So that first one was us just rocked. We were like, Andrea immediately was a glass cannon. She didn't know what to do. I'm trying to learn how to be a berserker. Somebody's dropping an area of effect fire that was burning all of us. And we're like, we don't understand why this is happening. What is it? It lived up to its name of chaos. It was absolute chaos as we all tried to figure out what was going on. But then as you eased into it, it becomes those, I think what every game chases, those water cooler moments where I'm doing something cool. And then to have, Blessing see me doing, Dreadwind, the Dreadwind spin, which was the special for the Berserker, where you just go ape and you spin around and attack everything. Like for me to learn how to control that, for me to know when to use that, right? Have them call that out. It was that nice push and pull of us BSing around together, being friends. And then, all right, hold on, heads up. There's a boss here, or there's this giant creature here. Greg, go in there, do this. Andrea, you stand back and you fire from afar. All right, this is what's happening. Somebody get healing over here. Like you had those moments naturally that you want. And then it was at the end, the oh man, that was great. Oh, what did you do? How did you fight that thing? What powers are you using? Okay, well, what tree have you invested in? Like that was what I think we were getting out of it, where it was a great thing of making our own story. And then of course, as you're playing through, like, okay, cool. Like once we figured out the crystal game, it was, even though, we're leaving these characters behind and none of the saves or progress carry over, it was like, let's get as many crystals as we can. Let's go get the best gun we can. Let's get back out. And I want to drop this perk on that gun.
That sounds so amazing. So were there like super unique game mechanics there?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think I've been lucky enough on this one, right, where it gets announced and I'm like, sold. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, of course. More stuff from Gearbox, more Ashley Birch. You were putting in Joe Bluth, Will, right? Like, you're going to have Will in this game. You're kidding me right now? I can't wait to see Will Arnett run through and play this and be a bad guy in this universe. Like
A man named Job.
right? I've made a huge mistake. But I was lucky enough then to just be like, cool, I'm not going to read the blog posts. I'm not going to listen to your guys' show. That's my biggest luck, right? No, I'm kidding. It's this idea, right, that I get to kind of be media blackout on it. So to get dropped in there and get it behind the sticks, I was surprised how different it felt and how different it looked, and how obviously clearly it's got the Borderlands DNA, but it's not just DLC. It's not a reskin. It's nothing like that. It was very much its own unique world and its own unique game. And so, the enemies I'm facing and these crazy mushroom people with sharp teeth that are coming at us and these giant creatures, I was like, yes, I want more of this and I can't wait. And so it was a nice taste to see how powerful I'll be at the end of the journey, but now I'm stoked to get in there and see it from the start, right? And to run around the open hub world and see the giant butt stallion statue and all this stuff. I'm like, this is still distinctly Borderlands, but it's different enough that I don't know what's going on in the world and what the rules are.
Yeah. And one of the things that I remember from all of our conversations that we had whenever we would sit down and talk at the desk, which I still miss that immensely, believe me, is
we'll get you
you've
back,
always
don't worry.
talked about being a story guy. You've always talked about somebody who loves to go in there and kind of go at your own pace and enjoy the things that you enjoy. And sometimes endgame activities, I'm not saying that you don't like them. I'm saying that just that's not your entire universal appeal and being for playing a game.
Of course.
So to that end, I'm going to ask you, though, did Chaos Chamber do anything to maybe move the needle a little bit more towards getting you more excited to what endgame activities are possible in a video game as a result of your playtime with the game?
Yes and no. Stick with me.
Sure.
I don't think it's going to be something I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go play some Chaos Chamber. I want to go do this. Hey, everybody group up. I do think it's going to be that when Fran is like, hey, I'm running a thing. Do you want to play a little bit tonight? I know it's a 20 to 30 minute commitment. Okay, sure. And I know that I'm not going to hold him back. And I know that we're both going to get rewards out of it. And, I'm sure as that we get ready for content that comes down the line, it'll be, okay, great. I need to be stronger. So I do want to play some, and I do want to jump in there, and I do want to have something under my belt that I can actually use in whatever's coming up. I think that's the avenue for it for me, where it's going to be for me more of a hangout social hub rather than sit there and grind every night, which is, more than I can say for a lot of the stuff. Cause obviously, I loved Borderlands 3's DLCs and went through them and played all that stuff. But when it really was like Fran's like, I'm cranking up the mayhem, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm like, that's great, man. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to go over here and just find out what Jack's doing over, why that's happening. But okay, you do your thing. You do your thing.
Fran likes to try really, really hard and
Yes,
be
he
really,
does.
really good.
At 4 a.m. You know what I mean? I had a baby recently, and I paternity leave every night. The kid wakes me up at 4 a.m. I looked at Twitch. Fran's there playing games. Like, what are you doing, Fran?
He is a machine of the highest caliber. I don't understand
Great
it.
hair,
I miss
too.
him. Hopefully we could have him back on very soon too, because I would love to talk with Fran more about this. So.
I can't wait to see his reaction to it, because that's the thing. You know what I mean? This is something totally designed, especially for, I think, how Fran consumes and streams game, where he, gets super into something. He will be super into Tiny Tina, and then something else starts coming over. But I could easily see him starting or ending streams with this. Like, you know what I mean? Another warm up or a cool down, or he's chasing a certain thing. Like, I don't think Chaos Chamber needs to be, obviously it can be something you play for 6 hours in a row, but I think it can also be something you do a few runs on, try to get the thing you want, and then you bounce off and you go play something else or whatever you need to do.
And your time feels respected as a result of having played it. You feel
100%,
rewarded for every action you take, which is, that's incredible. That's exactly what you're looking for, right?
For sure, of course. And I think that's, to generalize a bit more and go away from Chaos Chamber, it's something I found so unique about the classes. Like, obviously I was a flak main in Borderlands 3, and I had a Moe's character, and like I tinkered and went around with all this different stuff, and you see the differences there. But even from a more base level, the fact that, at the end of every run, we would have that conversation as a group of like, all right, cool. Like, does anybody want to switch classes? And none of us did, because we were learning our class. Like, nobody wanted to get off the sticks on what they were playing, or mouse and keyboard, because they didn't want to have to go and then have another playthrough that was learning how to do it. Once, you get in the rhythm of being a berserker, I wanted to be the berserker the whole way through.
I mean, you agree with me, right? That Berserker is like the most fun, because
100%.
So much
I mean,
fun.
I didn't play the others, so yeah, I have to.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay. I won't say anything else. I just love the
there,
Berserker a lot.
There are things. There are some good ones. Yeah, exactly. We'll save it for now. Greg, it's so nice to speak with you about everything involving Chaos Chamber. Are you free to hang out for a little bit? Do you
Oh,
want
yeah.
to talk about some other cool things? Because I don't know if you play Fortnite tonight, but apparently in Fortnite, they decided that one of the cool things that Butt Stallion should have is her own glider.
Yeah.
I need to see this. Tess, do we happen to have something for the people to see?
We do. Fortnite Butt Stallion glider. That's all I have to say.
I love this thing.
Oh my God. That is crazy. I love crossovers. Okay. I love crossovers. I think they're so much fun. So many of us play a wide variety of games because we just are addicted to video games. And there's a lot of good ones. And it's just so cool. It's like if you're watching your very, very favorite TV show and your other very, very favorite TV show suddenly has, people from one and the other hang out together. Like, it's just, I don't know. It warms my heart. It makes me feel good. And it makes me want to play other games that I wouldn't normally even play all that often. It's crazy. So I'll basically follow Tina anywhere, in Butt Stallion anywhere. So I might have to play some Fortnite now.
Do it. Get in there. Give them the V-Bucks. No, I mean, you're right. I think Fortnite is such a cultural phenomenon that it's been awesome to see collaborations like this happen and continue to happen. Obviously, for Borderlands 3, we saw it, right? There was an event. There was the Psycho stuff. There was a whole bunch of stuff you could get in the game. And then to have it here, I think is such a great way to remind people, like you're saying, Tess, hey, we all play a bunch of different stuff, but if you are one of the millions and millions and millions of, young teens, kids who are getting into video games for the first time, somebody who's playing with their family or friends for the first time and aren't even a kid, right? Like there are these other avenues and you hope that you see something like Butt Stallion. You're like, I need to look into what this is and then find out about this game and come play that.
So cool.
It's brilliant to see. I love the level of design. You actually get to surf on Butt Stallion. There's a little rainbow behind it. That was really cool. And it's, it's not necessarily the best game in the world for me. I have some problems with some of the core mechanics of Fortnite, but to run around and to actually like surf on Butt Stallion when I'm playing the game, that kind of makes it worth it alone. Even if I get killed in the first couple seconds, that just means that I get to ride on Butt Stallion again when I drop in the next location. So that's super worth it.
So
It's a great way to look at it. I like that. There you go. Hey, even if I die, I get to ride it again.
I know what's going to happen here. We know how this is going to end up, but you know what? I get to ride Butt Stallion at the end of the day, and that makes it super worth it.
That is a very good way to look at it.
Yes.
Death is worthwhile in Fortnite because of Butt Stallion.
But I'd rather hang around for a little bit longer because, and this is, I had no idea this was coming. We got a drop of information about the season pass out of nowhere. I had no idea this was coming. And just the little trailer that we got is enough to really get me excited for what's to come. So, Tess, do we actually have that footage available for the people today?
We do. Just wait.
Roll 'em.
You've come this far of your own free will. A little farther won't hurt.
Oh my God. All of those characters and a new class.
New class, right?
What?
That's the big one. I saw the chat over there. Like, oh, now they're adding new classes, huh?
Oh my God.
Right?
That's so cool. That's so
That one came as
cool.
a huge surprise. And not just that, but on top of everything else that trailer just dropped, the biggest thing for me is release date. That is, what, a month and 2 days after the drop of the actual full game itself. That came as an immense shock to me.
100%. Yeah, I think especially if you look at Borderlands 3 most recently and how Gearbox handled the DLC for that, it's impossible not to get excited for this. As somebody who, we loved Borderlands 3, to be excited for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and then have the fact that, basically a month later, you're getting the first part. It says part 1, right? Of DLC and new locations and new stuff. Can't wait. I can't wait just to get the game in general, let alone to get more DLC for it.
I think it really speaks to how much they've actually taken, all the lessons learned from previous iterations and ideals, and now they're taking it into such a new and unique direction, and like making it its own series with its own background and having its own ideals. And one of those clearly is they want to just like get that content out there. They want to have the people playing all of these cool things. And so with that in mind, it is our genuine pleasure here at the Wondercast to welcome onto the show Matt Cox and Kent Rochefort, who we are so excited to speak with about all of these things today. Matt, Kent, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thanks for having us out.
We're very so lucky to have all of these amazing guests today to share you guys with the world. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We have so many questions and we're so excited.
Yeah, I'm just very excited that we're finally able to tell so much about what we've been working so hard on. And it's awesome to see just the passion from the community. So delighted to be here for sure.
I mean, that's the thing, right? I feel like this week you've gone from 0 to 100. It was like kind of quiet. The game's coming up. You'd be like, oh yeah, right, that's gonna happen. And then here it is, like nonstop. Every day now we're getting some kind of announcement.
Yeah. And I know like a big question that's been on so many people's minds is, will we ship with Endgame at all? And so this has been a really fun week to be like, yes, and big yes.
Very, very big yes.
Yeah, and that's why we've got a plethora of questions to that end that we are going to ask you. But we're going to set the table a little bit with our first question to kind of get some backstory as to the mindset that got us to this point. What is the mindset and what is the genesis for taking everything that we've learned over all of these years and going this completely new direction, a completely new series, a completely new game style? And like, how did you decide to develop this, if you will?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think ever since Assault on Dragon Keep from BL2, I mean, not only do we understand that people really loved Tiny Tina, but we did at Gearbox, right? And also we have a ton of fantasy fans. And so there was an itch that was scratched there with Assault on Dragon Keep. And over the years, it became very, very obvious to us that this is something that is so much greater than what a DLC could be. It could punch well above that sort of weight class. And so the idea of the looter shooter loop that we love to create, but fantasy, that alone is a springboard into an off-ramp into a whole new fantasy first-person shooter. But we also have this amazing character that we love and people love in Tiny Tina, that it just makes sense to stick with that, but then plant that in the ground into a new standalone effort into its own game, and then really discover, like, do the exercise of discovering what could be unique to our brand of fantasy looter shooter, embrace all the things that people love about the core gameplay, but grow into different significant areas for sure.
Very, very cool. So a question to both of you. Where do you feel you were able to really flex your creative muscles and incorporate or develop completely new experiences for players in Wonderlands?
I think Matt already touched that subject. Working with the context of Tiny Tina, it gives us the best scapegoat that we can dream of. Like, if we want to do something and Tiny Tina wants to blow it, just so be it. It just blows. And I feel for me, like, I'll talk for me and the team, the Overworld was a huge part for that. If we want that the Cheetos fall on board and becomes gay, yeah, why not Tiny Tina just drop the Cheetos there? So we can pull out from the DNA of Borderlands and just let the mayhem go, so let it go.
That Cheetos
Yeah.
example sounded very specific, by the way. I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. Like being able to design for the mind of Tiny Tina gives designers, artists, everybody really a lot of freedom to really double down on whatever we think is crazy, and we can make it work within the context of not only fantasy and magic, but in the mind of a chaotic 13-year-old, right? So, but also I was very excited to tackle a character creator for the first time in our history. We have, in Borderlands games, you have bespoke, vault hunters, but it made sense for a Bunkers and Badasses tabletop game to create your own character and different types of things we could do with that. And then I totally agree with, Kent there. The overworld was something that you really don't see in first-person shooter games as a way to express a lot of things. So I would say those two things were really fun to create for. And then our design team, our entire teams did a great job, like thinking of crazy spells and how we incorporate melee for us. And so there's just so much that I think we had a blast with for creativity's sake.
Just as someone who plays a ton of D&D on role play shows on Twitch and just in general, the character creator is everything. I'm probably going to spend way too long in that. I've been known to spend 2 hours on character creators in games before, so I have a feeling that'll be a really cool adventure.
The content creation teams were huge into it, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt real quick, but I just wanted to let you know that like everybody who had a chance to play and had a chance to use the character creation team, I feel like dedicated perhaps more of their time than they intended to originally in doing
That's
so.
the point, right? That's it's showing how good it is and how much it's nailing what you want out of a D&D, aka Bunkers and Badasses. Like you want to feel that character. You want to make that character your own and have that journey with them.
Yeah, and being able to decouple it from classes, like expression was such a big deal for us, being able to decouple everything. And you can express your physical nature, how you look and how you play in such a variety of mix and match ways, and including obviously multi-classing as well. So I'm excited to see pictures of what people create for sure on day one.
Cool. We've asked some of the easier stuff. Now we're going to start really getting into it. We've talked a little bit now with Greg about Chaos Chamber. How did this new game mode from your end as the developers come about? Because it feels like it's very unique to the series and it's such a new concept. So Ken, if you have a chance, please let us know what the idea was for Chaos Chamber.
Yeah, Greg grasped it pretty much. Like, to have one sentence to resume it is stitching rooms together, and that talks a lot of us for the fantasy of dungeon crawling and all the D&D that goes with it. And so the team had a proof of concept where we could stitch those rooms without loading while keeping the original quality of the game, which is a technical difficulty in games. So we had that concept of systematically creating content, and then we just expand that on it. Like it is present in the overworld in a more structured way. So you have biomes and stuff, but when you get into the Chaos Chamber, we just took everything we could and just cramp it together. We have a set of rules, that's for sure, just to make sure the generation is not doing anything. But yeah, that's the thesis of it.
It sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, and we wanted to create something that was like highly replayable as well. And then I love what Greg said about the whole choose your own adventure, because that's really what we want to do. Even though there's randomized elements, there's agency there that you do actually choose your own adventure. I loved that.
And it helped us chase things you wanted to chase, right? Where it would be like, do you want to go to this diamond chest, or like, do you want to go this way and just to get into a boss fight?
That's really something important. Like it was a pillar of the design of the entire dungeon, letting the player choose what he wants. And that's something we felt was missing in the end game of Borderlands 3. And I think Borderlands 3 learned it with the patch where they did the targeted loop on bosses. And we just wanted to escalate that knowledge into the Chaos Chamber.
For sure.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a lot of risk management, where when you're coming out of Chaos Chamber or you're inside Chaos Chamber with whatever you're doing, you have your options, right? Greg was mentioning that you can choose to feed a bunny that will then vomit a rainbow full of delicious guns that you might be looking for. So if you want an assault rifle, you can feed that bunny, I imagine. If you want a crossbow, you can feed a different bunny. If you want, and it's really nice to see, because one of the major complaints that we've had in the past is I use Tess. Tess will know this better than anybody here. Tess loves submachine guns.
Yes.
She loves them with all of her being. And so the submachine gun bunny will be very, very fed by Tess as a result of this. But Tess might not get what she wants, but she will know that at least it's a submachine gun, so it fits in her style of play. That's so massive to know is coming. Thank you for that.
Yes, to echo what Mitzi said, you guys have fed the spoiled submachine gun loving heart of mine a lot, and I appreciate it. I will say though, the crossbow weapon, I was so pleasantly surprised. I don't know what I was exactly expecting, but it far exceeded anything I was expecting when I've played. So I don't know. I might play a ton of Wonderlands and crossbows. Submachine guns, I'm gonna have a hard time.
Are you gonna turn your back on submachine guns?
Maybe. I don't know. It's too early.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll never turn my back on an assault rifle. All right, that's my weapon.
I feel that. So another really, really cool mechanic, or sort of feature, very, very wildly different from any other games that we've seen from you guys before, is the overworld, right? And I don't know if you got to experience that, or I'm sure you've seen it in some of the trailers and things like that, Greg. But what sort of informed the design decision to include that? How did that come to be? Why did you guys decide to go that route? And what were some, interesting things about it, challenges about it?
I think at the very beginning, like while we were like blue sky trying to figure out what sort of tabletop elements can we bring into this game, that's really where a lot of the concept of the overworld was born. Because what if we have this in-between land that it's not quite at the table where Tina, Valentine, and Fret are, right, in the real world, so to speak, and it's not the pure combat, FPS level where most of the quests take place, right? But this living tabletop where we can see our cool customized character in like bobblehead form, but give activities along the way. So you have the main path where you could go to the next area of the main mission that you're on, or the quest that you're on, or give a lot of exploration, some incentive to do some smaller quests, or to find some things, or in many cases, discover an completely different an environment that's not on the plot path. And we just did that demo of Mount Craw, and that entire area is off the main plot quest. So for us, we wanted to make traveling between moments and traveling between quests something that was essentially gamified. And then we even threw in, why not try, what does a random encounter feel like nod to old JRPGs in a first-person shooter, just seamlessly without load, get hit by an enemy patrolling on the overworld, seamlessly go into a combat, get some loot, and come back out. So we really tapped in just to a lot of what it felt like. What could it feel like for a living tabletop?
So I just want to make sure I'm getting this right, because I have a vision in my head of what you just described, and I want to make sure it's that, or if I'm off base, I apologize. What you're telling me is that when you're walking through the overworld, at some random interval, literally, your character might be jumped by somebody else, so you'll be transported to what I imagine would be probably a small, isolated little dungeon area where you have a showdown, I imagine in first person, or maybe third, that would be crazy, but in first person, and you have to defeat whatever was attacking you in the greater overworld area.
Yeah, think of it as tall grass. Think of it as tall grass. So we understand the friction that comes along with like what people didn't like about old school random encounters, where you're just blindsided by it and you can't avoid it. So we've gone to great lengths to make sure that doesn't happen. So it's specific tall grass areas, and then you can actually melee in the overworld. So if you don't want to get involved, you can either run away, or you could just melee them and they'll explode. But What a great
Yes.
way to get some extra XP and some extra loot. So they actually become something useful in a very short burst.
That's so cool. Just that you can melee, like that you can run around and I mean, okay, the feeling of melee in this game in general is amazing. The tuning of it. I'm very sensitive to fine-tuned combat effects, okay? And it's so satisfying to just whack things. It's great. The fact that you can do
Awesome.
that in the overworld, yeah, that's
So chat's getting me a little bit here because they're like, Mitsu's so excited about this. Listen, when it was described to me just now in my head, I was like, there's no way that you could incorporate all of those elements into a first-person shooter that's literally never been done before. Like, the way I have it in my head, it seems exactly like what you would see in an old school classic JRPG. Where's the disconnect? Where is it going to be different? But you're telling me, and I believe you, of course, but you're telling me that it's literally like you were playing an old school JRPG in that long grass. That's why my mind is blown, because it's that simply has just never been done before, and I love the concept behind it.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, because that was one of the things that we wanted to try to do. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are very, very different in Wonderlands that are its own, but this is definitely one of those that, to my knowledge, like you said, I don't think it's really ever been tried in a first-person shooter game before. So we're excited for people to try it out.
I'm surprised we're breaking new ground. Who could have foreseen? So
But it's just a reskin of Borderlands 3. Get out of here. Let people enjoy things. It looks great.
Diplomatic face is on. I'm smiling.
I can say it. I can say it for you, Matt.
So, Ken, we also understand that you've had quite a hand in developing the overworld. So, what are some of the features of this new addition to the universe that have you particularly excited?
I mean, the thinking behind it, like, I think, to use Matt's word, a living board is what is lagging when you play D&D, right? It is a static thing that you have to put your imagination in. So doing video games allows us to animate things in it. So you'll see it changing, like the mission and everything you make in progress. At some level, you will have a new board to play with and to discover. So it is a living board, and yeah.
That's actually very exciting. Yeah, and just if you can, just without spoiling anything, obviously, like in what larger, I guess you like high level ways do the board kind of change? Like, is it for example, like, is it like seasonal? Like, oh, maybe it goes from like a spring season to a fall season kind of look for the board or something like that.
I'll say it's more drastic than that. I don't want to spoil too much for people, but yeah, it's a bit more drastic.
That's fine. I was just wondering like how visual it can get, but if it's even more visual than seasons changing, that's a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's seasons changing, but there are like small things that you will notice. Like I think Kent's example before of like finding a Cheeto on the board, and Tina off the cuff is like turns that into part of the quest. There are some moments like that, and you know we have shortcuts all around the overworld that are bottle caps. So it's like this combination of like a fantastical decoration mixed with real world elements of just like, well, Tina just left a bunch of stuff on the board. Like there's a river and it's like, oh, what a beautiful river. But you realize it's orange and it's a spilt soda can. So there are moments like that to discover just by just walking around the overworld. But to answer the initial question, absolutely. Things change.
Yeah. And not just with the overworld, I imagine too, but those things that happen in the overworld might also affect levels themselves. I hope, fingers crossed, because if you're going to see it that big, like that giant Cheeto, I can imagine that giant Cheeto then becomes a giant location that you could actually, in first person again, visit. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know, but that's what I would like to say.
I'm excited for people to experience a few of these big moments.
I'm not
gonna say
no, that's a wonderful
I don't want you to
answer.
say anything. Yeah, I just want to play
No,
the game.
this is
Don't
good.
ruin anything.
Are there any other things that we've yet to hear about that you do want to talk about that you're excited for players to experience or that you'd like to highlight or anything like that?
Yeah, we touched the macro level of the chaos chamber, and there's some gameplay ingredient in there that I really like the crystal that you can destroy, which spawn a badass. And if you kill the badass, you have crystal. So you have a way to have crystal early in the chamber without completing the first room, so you can buy your first altar. And I'm kind of excited. It's just like a build, like your pattern when you run the dungeon. I'm just excited to see what people comes with.
It's so cool that it changes every time you go into it. That's like mind blowing to me. It's really amazing that you guys did that. I'm so excited to get my hands on it. I'm so jealous of Greg.
I have like the tortured existence. If I didn't get to play, the hours and hours and hours to get to the end game, I got dropped in the end game. Like, what is going on? All right, I played for a bunch. Now I just want to play more.
So there's one, well, two big things that we weren't really able to cover in the past couple of days, just because like saying that Chaos Chamber just exists and like what a flow of a Chaos Chamber run even is, it takes a lot. So that's a lot to ingest, but there's two pretty big things that we haven't talked about yet. But there are three very big bosses in the Chaos Chamber that are only in the Chaos Chamber that are very big challenges. They are hidden behind puzzles. So for the people who I understand, like we all like ask questions and, like in a Borderlands context and like, where are the Invincibles and where are, these bigger boss challenges? But for Wonderlands, there are those bigger, tougher, different, playing a little bit kind of boss challenges that only live in the Chaos Chamber. And you actually saw a glimpse of one of them in the trailer, but those are found as you're doing a run. You might see a puzzle pop up, and if you complete it correctly, the last thing you do before the loot room is you will gain access to a big boss fight. So I'm not going to say too much more about them because I'm excited for the community once they get to the Chaos Chamber to discover how to access them. But I know there's that itch that everybody wants to scratch of the bigger end game type boss challenge, no matter what you want to call it. They exist, and they're there on day one to be found in Chaos Chamber.
Excellent. And to that end, I've heard a little bit about chaos bosses themselves and chaos tier. So what are those on top of everything else that you've talked about?
So there is chaos tiers of gear. So once you get to the Chaos Chamber, you have your normal run, extended run, your featured run, and that featured run is the same for everybody. That'll change, at a certain rate. But there's also the chaos runs. So you can increase, and chaos is a level of difficulty, right? So once you complete a chaos run, you now can open the chaos menu and set your level to chaos level 0 or 1. And if you're at chaos level 1, run the chaos run again. It will be that much harder. So you basically get to earn your next level of chaos. And we'll be shipping with a chaos cap of 20. So you can keep testing your build and keep like tuning your min-maxing to your heart's content. But as your chaos level increases, we're going to start dropping a new tier of gear, which we call chaos tiers of gear. So you'll start to see versions of gear that are called chaotics start to drop. So you can start to contend with that higher level of chaos difficulty. But chaos tiers of gear, you don't have to keep refarming every single chaos level. Like the first level of tier, which we're calling chaotics, they'll be good for a good range of chaos tiers, but slowly start to diminish. But as they start to diminish, there's going to be a second chaos tier of gear called primordials that start to drop. And so we've essentially designed the chaos system to be infinitely scalable. So in the future, we can raise the chaos cap, and then these chaos tiers of gear that drop will become more and more useful as the chaos tier increases.
Oh my God, just to echo.
You just jumped a lot.
Yeah, what people in chat are saying. Mind, brain oozing out of ears. I did notice you mentioned one thing. Featured runs. Could you explain what exactly those are? How are they different from regular chaos experiences?
Yeah, the feature run is a run that is always the same. So it is randomly generated, but when you play it and replay it, the same things happen at the same place, and it is broadcasted to all players. So my friend in his zone, without being connected together, has the same run, so we can compare which one did it faster and stuff like that. So it is a run that we can upload and update. I think weekly or bi-weekly. I'm not sure about that, Matt. But yeah, that's the plan for the future run.
Yeah, we haven't finalized like how often we'll refresh the featured run, but it'll be weekly, bi-weekly or something. But we'll have more details on that pretty soon.
And so with that would come like maybe like a leaderboard or something, either in game or maybe on social media or something like that, where fastest times in the week could be promoted or something, I imagine.
Yes, our take on the leaderboard is it's not the conventional leaderboard, but you will know how well you did compared to all players. So you will see, oh, my time in that run is, I don't know, top 80% or top 8% if you're really good. So it's just
percentiles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. No, that's
really
excellent.
cool. That's
so it's
really,
not a
really cool.
full-fledged leaderboard.
That makes
Mitsu,
it.
I'll send you my actual time every time. I'll text you. I'll text it to you so you know.
Excellent. I need to know so that way I can feel really bad when my time is like 6 seconds slower every single time.
I love that though. That's such a good feature to have, at least like your percentile across, because there's so many people, and it can be, it's such a positive thing to just be able to sort of compete with people without necessarily knowing like you did better than me or you did better than me. It's more like I'm part of the top 10%, which I never will be because I'm not fast, but
it's like our SATs. You were in the top 1% of I don't know.
It makes you feel good.
I've been in school for like 20 plus years. I don't know how that works anymore.
Do they even do the SATs anymore? I'm not even sure.
No, I think they canceled SATs.
Wait a minute, that is probably wrong. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so we are starting to hit press for time, but there are two major questions that we definitely have to get through. And the most important one, I think, and I'm not going to sit on it any longer, is very simply put, will there be some sort of boss in this game that is comparable to Invincibles from previous entries and ideals and concepts in previous series?
You won't take it, Matt. You already said it. It's the 3 boss that are hidden behind a puzzle. They are more mechanically intensive for the player than mind story boss that we call. Mm-hmm. They are designed to challenge certain aspects of the player. Some are accuracy based, other are movement based on navigation. And if you don't master that, you will have a hard time completing them, and if you fail completing them, you will lose your chaos run, right? So it is something that player has to consider. It also comes after the first boss. So you defeat the boss of the chaos run, and then you have another boss, which are those more intense boss. So it's something that you might choose to not take the portal. After the boss, you'll have to portal, and if you don't feel comfortable, like even if you completed the puzzle, you can go straight to the loot room and avoid making it to not lose all your crystals.
Yeah, so even though we don't literally say the word invincible, like
right.
The itch we're scratching is the much harder boss challenge, different mechanics to learn and overcome in an intense fight. Those exist, right. And those are those 3 hidden bosses in the Chaos Chamber.
Okay. The reason I wanted to ask is because I know Chaos Chamber is what Chaos Chamber is. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything outside of Chaos Chamber in addition to that players should also be looking out for that was more akin to a more classic style of boss encounter in aspects of the series. That's why the questions sound like they may have some overlap, but I wanted to get that distinction out there for players to know.
Totally makes sense.
Cool. The final one I wanted to make sure we also got out is we just had the pleasure of watching the DLC trailer, and I've seen it posted several times over now. There's a certain name that keeps coming up. Vesper. Who is Vesper?
Vesper is our brand new character that really anchors all of the mystery behind all of these new bosses and who they are and what really grounds the context for everything that we're doing in all of the season pass content. So her origins and methods are sort of a mystery, and that's kind of part of what we want people to discover. So we love being able to introduce new characters to a universe, and we have a long history of doing that through post-launch content, right? And so I'm excited for people to find out more about who Vesper is, and the context around all of the stuff we have in the season pass.
Cool. I just keep seeing the name pop up, so I had to do due diligence and find out what the heck that was about. Thank you for letting us know.
So
No worries.
cool. This all sounds so amazing. I just have one last tiny question. In the season pass trailer, we saw that there's a new class. Now, I'm sure there's multiple DLCs in the season pass. Does that come with one of the later ones or the earlier ones?
Yeah, I can confirm it will come later. It's the new class won't be immediate. We want people to fully experience like multi-classing with the 6 classes we have, and so during later in the season it will drop so that we can add one more class to the mix of what you can primary as or multi-class with, for sure.
Very, very cool. I just saw that question in chat, so I wanted to.
Oh yeah. No, it's a great question.
I'd be
you.
remiss if I didn't ask, is there any little hint that you can give us about what the direction of that might be? Tiny bit? Nothing?
We'll have
Look at
more.
him just shake his
We'll
head like a
have
professional.
more
Details to announce at a later date. Get out of here, Matt.
Diplomat.
Matt would be mad at me if I didn't try.
No, that's fine.
I tried, everybody.
Fair.
I do have one little tidbit to put out there too that nobody has talked about yet, and I think I'm allowed to talk about it. Whatever. So I love that people have been giving their own names to what the multi-class would be like when they have Spore Warden and Clawbringer. Like everybody's having fun. So did we. So my favorite is a Gloombringer. We actually do name your multi-class.
Ooh.
So Gloombringer is by far my favorite. That's the first thing I'm going to do to play. And the Gloombringer is what we call the combination of Clawbringer and Graveborn. So like the first day like that it comes out, when I play my actual, I haven't been working on this game for years thing, is like play as like, it's actually out. I mean, I will be Clawbringer main with Graveborn secondary, because that I love my lifesteal. I love that hammer, and I love me some melee. So, but I just want to say, so when you multi-class, you will get a new name that isn't just your primary or secondary class. So those will be fun for everybody to discover.
That's amazing. That sounds so cool.
That's really cool.
That sounds so cool. Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know you're excited, Greg. I know you're excited, Mitsu.
That's just cool.
Seriously.
It's little things like that.
Yeah, that's huge, actually, because people have absolutely been coming up with names, and the fact that we'll be able to have that in game. Also, now I really want to try to do that combination. If Matt Cox says that that's a good combination, I have to try it.
That's totally subjective though, because that's just how I play. And like people, I've seen all these clips of some folks playing, Stabo. I guess granted the demo didn't have everything, but we want to support a variety of play styles. So even though that might be mine, may not be the one people like, but I also like SMGs too, Tess. So maybe there's some overlap there.
Okay. Really, really good to know. Seriously, thank you. I do want to share with viewers that on top of all of this super, super, super cool information, we are announcing a giveaway from Corsair. Corsair is super proud to partner with Wonderlands to include native IQ support in game. So I don't know about you guys, but I have Corsair coolers on like every single computer in this apartment. Mitsu has Corsair keyboard. I've got Corsair cases, so many Corsair parts, because they make beautiful things that are very functional, and you get to choose your colors and RGB and up and all that stuff. But also, I'm going to just show it off a little bit. This is the actual website at Corsair, which I will put in chat for you guys, where you can watch a little video and see what they have available. They have a giveaway for a PC that is built like a castle. So it sits on a little castle foundation and has some, towers and a butt stallion face, and it's just amazing. And there's rainbows everywhere and pink, and it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, actually.
I want that.
So yeah, you guys should definitely check that out. Go to the Corsair website and see for yourselves.
That looks amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really neat. There is also, on top of that, a really cool treasure trove that you can go to playwonderlands.com to learn more about. This has a model of a castle from the game, I believe, that you can build. There's a really, really adorable Butt Stallion plushie. I want this just for the plushie. Seriously, that thing is the cutest ever. There's also maps and illustrated tarot cards and pins and a really cool companion to Bunkers and Badasses, a Tiny Tina's Bunkers and Badasses, which is the real physical Bunkers and Badasses D&D style role-playing game that you can get for yourselves. There's a companion to that in the treasure trove that is illustrated and beautiful that I super, super recommend you guys check out. Huge, massive thank you to Greg and Matt and Kent. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Mitsu, as always. It's been so awesome to talk with you all and to learn more about the game, and you guys are just amazing. We're so excited to get our hands on it. Huge thank you.
You all are amazing. Thanks for having us. I love this stuff. This is great.
We hope to have you back very soon, Greg. We would love to have you back, Ken.
Oh, yeah.
We would love to have you back, especially post-launch, so we can talk about all of these things finally out in the open instead of, we'll see kind of stuff. But, we will see on March 22nd.
Very, very soon.
That's right. Well, March 25th.
25th.
March 25th.
Yes.
Right.
March
right.
25th.
Everybody got real excited there for a second.
Is it coming out early?
I wish.
I wish.
Seriously, I've asked for this on Twitter, but can we have a Tiny Tina's time machine, please? Just, teleport me. That'd be great.
I would play that game, Tiny Tina's Time Machine. That's actually a video game title right there.
Minigame? Something? I don't know.
Sounds
thank
exciting.
you. Yeah, it really does. Seriously, you guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you to the viewers. You guys are absolute rock stars. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for any listeners that we've got across all the platforms. You're awesome. And don't forget, there's another show coming. There's some cool stuff happening. A launch party, maybe? There might be some really cool Gearbox people there. There's going to be a Mitsu. I am going to turn into a television.
Wow.
It's going to be cool. So check that out next week. I think next week.
It's a whole thing. Believe me, we'll have more on it very, very soon. So,
Awesome.
yes, Tess, if you want to take us home.
Sure. You guys, we appreciate you all and look forward to what's to come. Thank you so much to 2K, Gearbox, Next Makers team, and of course, all of you here for trusting us to be your information and entertainment source of all things Wonderlands. We leave you, as always, with our weekly magic moment. Now, get out there and make your own fate.
Mushroom's flavor is contained throughout the entire organism. You can't wash it off. Now, mushrooms do have cell walls, which may be damaged by extended soaking, but there's no real good evidence for that, aside from the fact that they get a little soggy after a while. But if that happens, just throw them in a dry pan on high heat with a little bit of salt, you'll be fine. That dry fry step is going to help to remove excess moisture from the mushroom itself, it's going to concentrate the flavor, and it's going to improve the texture overall.